Welcome back to the Superhuman Resilience Project. I'm Kara, your host, and today we're stepping into a topic that feels both ancient and urgently relevant. 2026 is the year of the fire horse. It's a rare 60-year cycle that is high speed and results in a high impact year. The fire horse calls for bold leadership, quick movement, and fearless decision making. It is the perfect year for our first responders to harness this powerful energy for big wins while maintaining strict discipline and boundaries to avoid burnout, which honestly makes it the perfect backdrop for a conversation about resilience. Real resilience, the kind that doesn't require you to be invincible or superhuman. We chose this week's topic because many of us, veterans, first responders, and other high capacity humans, are walking into this year already carrying fire. Some of that fuels us, and some of it burns us. And most of us were never really taught how to tell the difference. This isn't about perfection. It's about riding the momentum while making sure that you're steering in the right direction. And that's where the 4 pillars of resilience come in. Not as buzzwords or a checklist, but as a foundation that keeps you steady when life, work, and the world decides to turn up the heat. These pillars aren't about being tougher. They're about being supported. They're about building a life that can hold the fire without burning you alive. And today we're joined by someone who understands that more than most. I'm honored to introduce my friend, Sarah Jensen, Crisis Intervention Team Coordinator for the Missouri Department of Corrections. Sarah is one of those leaders who doesn't just talk about resilience. She builds it into systems, into teams, and into the lives of the people who serve in some of the most demanding environments imaginable. She's a bridge between the front lines and the support they deserve. And she brings a perspective that is grounded, compassionate, and fiercely practical. On top of all that, she also holds me accountable, which is a full-time job in itself. So let's take a breath and settle in, and let's talk about what it means to ride that fire horse with intention, with community, and with a resilience that is built and not assumed, and not performed, but earned. Thank you for being here with us, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Mental resilience in the fire horse. I mean, that's just sounds exciting. Before we get into the deep end today, I want to start by saying this whole episode was your idea. We were on the phone chatting the other night, and you started talking about celebration of the Chinese New Year and the year of the fire horse. And the second you said it, something clicked, because if there's ever been a year that mirrors the intensity that veterans and first responders walk through, it's this one.
Yeah, I am so happy. I'm having a blast celebrating the Lunar New Year this week, and I really love the mythology behind the Chinese zodiac, and I'm super excited for this year, the year of the fire horse. The horse figure in the zodiac really thrives on movement, and then the fire element of the world, that really adds that passion and impulsiveness and the speed to the horse. And I love the combination of the two because it often creates that wildfire or wild card effect, that energy. And I really have high hopes for this year. And I know that the speed of this year can bring some rapid exhaustion along with it too. But it's very important that we're being mindful of that and grounding that fire with some routine and some discipline to get us through this year. But I really think this is going to be a really great year for our first responders, especially as we're talking about resilience this year too. It's going to be a lot of energy this year.
This year's one about learning to ride the fire instead of being consumed by it. The fire horse moves so fast. A clear mission plan is essential. Without it, you might just be moving quickly without making any real progress. The fire element also adds strong emotions to the speed of the horse. This means that all first responders will really need to focus on the resilience pillars in the field and at home. So before we get into all of the pillars, I also want to point out that the sign of the horse may be a signal of strength and independence. But the horses are a herd animal, and this year we encourage you to lean into your herd and trust your team members and your family to navigate that. So the first place we will go is mental resilience, the actual cognitive skills that help you stay steady when your brain is trying to drag you into a ditch.
Right? I think this mental pillar really speaks to the ability of first responders to respond rather than to react to the chaos that we see every day. But the danger in this year and the danger of the fire horse that symbolizes that high intensity, that can lead to a lot of like just being overwhelmed mentally, that cognitive overload, that decision fatigue, that rapid fire decision making, impulsiveness. That burnout is going to be really hard to avoid this year. This year really is going to demand that mental resilience move from that passive awareness to more of an operational level. Like we need to be on top of it every single day, be thinking about it every single day. It has to be something that we not just talk about, because we do those self-help classes all the time or those self-care classes all the time, and we talk about it all the time, but very rarely do we actually put that stuff into practice. And this year is really going to challenge us to combine that courage and self-compassion to take care of ourselves and slow down and take those pauses when necessary, because we're going to be very, very tempted to just push through.
That's so true. Our first responders are already living in a culture of speed that requires quick decisiveness. And it can take a lot of courage to slow down and say, hold up a minute. In any profession, and especially for our first responders, it's always a good idea to implement a mandatory pause before big decisions to prevent impulsive reactions backwards. I think you're making a great point about having a plan to burn steady, not bright. This year brings with it boundless energy of the horse and the courage to build ourselves up with intention. And that's why this year offers so much hope, not because it's easy, but because it's honest, and it forces us to look at what's working and what's not working. And it pushes us to build the mental muscles, the optimism, the adaptability, self-regulation that help us stay grounded even when everything around us is shifting.
And I mean, for veterans, first responders, we talk about the dispatchers a lot because I think they get forgotten. Right? This is going to be huge. Those mental muscles are what we really need to be tapping into this year to harness that great strength of the fire horse. And that'll help us pursue the things that really do truly matter to us, things that really do truly give us more energy so that we can show up day to day and show up for other people day to day.
Yes, it is an invitation not to be perfect and not to be unbreakable, but to be aware, to be intentional, to be willing to ride the fire with a little more skill and a little less self-judgment. We've been talking about mental resilience and how the fire horse pushes us to look at our thoughts and our patterns and the way we respond to stress. And I think that's the perfect bridge into the next pillar, because if mental resilience is the steering wheel, physical resilience is the engine. You can have all the insight in the world, but if your body is running on fumes, you're going to eventually hit a wall.
Yeah, and especially like as we're talking about the year of the horse, I love that metaphor too. That this intense energy that this year brings, along with the zodiac, is going to come with that temptation to just run on fumes. We're going to be pushing forward more in this year that's full of energy than we would any other year, and that we have to really think about the stamina of that. Like, so as we watch the Olympics are finishing up this week, every single one of those athletes know it's a long race, it's a long set of events, and they have to prepare for that. They can't just run headfirst into the fire, as we like to say. They have to be having some kind of plan and some discipline to get through those courses, to get through their days as first responders. You really have to be thinking about how you're spending that energy, both mentally and physically, every single day this year. Be really mindful of it.
Right, because what we tend to do, or what we sometimes automatically do, is we start to cut that sleep. We start to skip meals. We start to think, oh, I'll exercise tomorrow. And exercising tomorrow never comes. And the body keeps score whether we want it to or not. But physical resilience isn't about being in peak condition or hitting some arbitrary fitness standard. It's about supporting the body that carries the weight of our life. And I'm not talking about physical weight. I'm talking about all the crap we go through.
Yeah, first responders just in general carry a lot on them. And they have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of just pressure to that, kind of speaking to what you talked about earlier about being perfect all the time. right? Where you need to be drinking water, you need to be sleeping, you need to be eating right, you need to be doing all these things, and we just don't seem to have enough time in the day to be doing the things we're supposed to be doing to take care of ourselves. We're always showing up for other people. We're not showing up for ourselves. And I just, especially with the horse moving forward so much, it's going to be a hard year to remember that, like, we need to take care of ourselves too.
I love that because so many people in our community were trained to override their bodies, push through, power through, lock it up, ignore the signals. And the fire horse doesn't let you do that. It demands us to be present. It demands that we listen. It demands that we honor the vessel we're riding.
Yeah, this isn't a year to wing it. I'm giving any advice to my first responders out there. Don't wing it this year. Have discipline. Have a plan. Take care of yourself. It's going to be a rough year if you let that impulsiveness of the horse get you to sprint when you need to be monitoring your energy.
Yeah, we're not going to rush a building without a plan.
Right.
We're going to have some intelligence around that. We're going to have gathered as much information as we can possibly gather to know who's inside, know what's going on inside, all those things. We don't just go and hit the door and start running in and shooting. That's just not the way it works. Those situations don't tend to turn out well.
And kind of going back to that plan, we take care of everything else. We take care of our weapons, we take care of our equipment, we take care of our people. We have plans for them, and yet we very rarely do that for us.
Physical resilience isn't separate from mental resilience. It amplifies it, and I think that's the hope this year. The fire horse isn't gentle, but it's honest. So if you want to ride this momentum, you need to make sure your body's ready to hold on. And that's not a judgment, that's an invitation. It's not a call or a comment about how in shape or in out of shape you are. That's about what you have to do right now to make sure that you're still holding on to those reins when the next Chinese New Year hits, and that you haven't been bucked off or fallen off and been drugged through it, because that's not going to work out well for you at all. This is a chance to rebuild strength in a way that supports you and not drains you. And that's huge, because physical resilience isn't about fitness, it's about recovery, and it's about longevity and staying in the fight without losing yourself. And that's why the pillar matters so much. It's not about being the strongest, it's about being supported. So we've been talking about physical resilience and how the body is the engine and carries the weight of our lives, and how the fire horse year is going to push us to actually honor that vessel instead of running it into the ground. And that naturally leads us to the next pillar, the third pillar, because even the strongest body can't carry everything alone, and that's social resilience. Social resilience is where so much of the real healing happens.
Yeah. Your team. We stress it in everything we do. Like, you can't do anything without your team. Your team has your back, all day, every day. And yet when we go home and self-isolate. We go home and we don't talk to people. We go home and avoid events and public places because, again, we only ever see the worst of people in law enforcement, corrections, dispatchers, firefighters, people at their lowest points. So we don't want to see that when we go out and we're trying to regain our energy. And that causes us to pull away from people, to pull away from family, to pull away from friends, to pull away from people who just don't understand, because unless you've been there, unless you've seen it, it's hard to talk about.
In the communities we serve, there's that unspoken rule where you don't say anything. You don't suck it up, buttercup, or put your big girl pants on, or put your big boy pants on, or don't let them see you sweat. Any of that. But having people you can actually talk to, people who actually will hear you without judgment.
Yes.
People that will let you let go of that grief, that anger, fear, the guilt that you feel, the things that you've seen, the things that you had to do to survive. Sometimes you have to do things that you maybe morally don't agree with. It's the only way for you to survive.
Sometimes you just got to take off your cape, take off your armor, take all that stuff off and be vulnerable enough for somebody. And man, that's hard to do, to take that uniform off sometimes.
It is, because even when the uniform's off, we're still that person. That's how I always felt. It didn't matter if I was in uniform or out of uniform. I was still there, whether that was when I was in the military or when I was working later for the state. I identified myself as the job to a point that I didn't know who I was when the job ended.
And who you could talk to, and the higher you move up in the ranks, you're that patrol sergeant, or you're the supervisor in the institutions, or sheriff, that group of people you can talk to and lean on and get advice and be vulnerable with starts to shrink more and more every single day.
And that's why you've got to have those people that are outside those lines. I used to hear people say all the time, that when people worked in corrections or in law enforcement or in firefighting, they worked until they died. Mm-hmm. Which would basically meant they worked until they retired, and then they just seemed to die within a year.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that is because they didn't take care of themselves on a social end, and their body didn't know how to respond to not having that circle of things. I'm not really sure how I'm trying to say this, but it's right. But I know you guys will get what I'm talking about. We've lived the job for so long that when we're no longer living the job, the life is over. And our bodies quit. They give up. So you really have to make sure that during the time that you're coming up through things, that you're already building that community, and it doesn't have to be huge, but building that community on the outside of the people you work with.
Yeah.
Not that you can't be friends with them or that you can't hang out with them from time to time, but you've got to have a separation time too.
Yeah, you got to get away from work. If you're only hanging out with people from work and you're only talking about work, you're going to never leave work. You need to find something or something else to do or talk about. That's why they always tell us to get a hobby, right? And all those self-help classes or self-care classes. You need a hobby. But if all I'm doing is hanging out with work people, and all the people I know are people at work, I'm never leaving that work. And then if I do, and I know you experienced this when you retired, everybody you know was in the institution. Everybody you knew. Like, if you didn't have people outside of that group, what was that like?
It's hard. I mean, even our friendship, which has continued on. I've been retired now just over 3 years, and we talk pretty regularly, and we vacation together and we hang out together. But when we're together, we don't typically talk about work, which is probably because we never actually worked together. We just worked in similar roles where we crossed paths, and then of course then came Warriors Ascent, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. You were stuck with me after that. I told you too much shit, but having that person, having you, or having someone in your life that can experience your truth without flinching, that can hear what you need to get off your shoulders without saying, "You did that? Oh my God!" Or that understands that when I say, "Hey, I'm fine," that maybe I'm not.
You're not.
And we have that connection. You need someone in your life that you don't have to perform for.
Absolutely.
Life is not theater. Strength is not in silence. Strength is in connection. It's in the ability to say, "Hey, I need help. I have got a lot on my mind, and I need to put this down because it's making me crazy." And it's trusting someone to meet you there instead of backing away from you. And that's where the Fire Horse gives us so much hope, because this year pushes us towards that honesty, towards community, and towards letting the truth breathe.
I like it.
So, social resilience gives us a place to release pressure valve, so to speak, a place to be human again. And I think it's really the heart of this pillar. We're not meant to carry the fire alone. We're not meant to hold everything inside until it becomes too heavy to manage. Social resilience is the reminder that connection is not a luxury, it's a survival skill.
I don't know if I can say that any better. I love that. The ultimate coping skill is having somebody in your corner.
Definitely. Yeah, it helps you recover faster. It helps you to make healthier decisions. It makes you feel less isolated. It's not just the emotional, but it's the physiological. We're herd animals. Our nervous system is designed to respond to connection. And that's why the conversation matters, because the fire horse year is intense, but it's also communal. And it says, find your people, listen to your people, let your people see you,
Yes.
really see you. And that's not a weakness, that's wisdom.
Yeah, like that. It's like going back to taking off your armor. Like even the horse gets the saddle taken off of him. He needs a break. First responders deserve that. You need that break too.
Absolutely. And my one hope, I know, as far as the social part goes, is that the people who are coming into the fields now learn this sooner than later, so that they learn that using the tools is okay. We need to make it okay to not be okay. We need to really check. I remember, gosh, the longest time when I first started working for the department was like, I didn't know what a briefing was. We didn't have briefings. What the hell was that? I mean, shit happened and you moved on. Suck it up, right? Oh, somebody got a boo-boo, sucks to be them. Give them a Band-Aid, put them back to work. That's what we did. Mm-hmm. When we started holding briefings, they said, hey, by that time I was lieutenant, and they're like, hey, lieutenant, you got to hold a briefing because you guys just had a serious incident. And I'm like, well, what? Because nobody taught us how to do it. So we brought everybody in and we said, hey, y'all okay? Good deal. Here's what happened. That's not really a debriefing or a briefing.
No, it's not.
It wasn't until later, and I really sincerely wish that I would have known this sooner, that it meant saying, how are you right now? Not a yes or no question. I want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, I want to know those things. And not doing it in a room full of people, but doing it with those people one-on-one, and then getting them together as a group after we figure out everybody's individual positions and saying, okay, this is what we understand happened. Does anybody else have any input? That's a debriefing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have to go back and actually follow through. Just make it not so scary for people. Just say, it's okay that you're not okay today. That was really hard for anybody. And I'm going to give you a second to breathe, and let's see what else we can get you. Do we need to make a referral for you? What else do we need to do to help you be your best? And let them be a part of that decision making. And I'm hoping that that's where the people that are coming into the field now are starting to see.
Yeah, I really love that we have, like the state of Missouri has tactical response team of mental health professionals now. And we do the crisis incident stress management debriefings now. So the CISM briefings. So what you were talking about is kind of an operational briefing, and now we're getting people together with those mental health professionals, and they're like normalizing that after serious incidences, we know that you're going to have stress. We know you're going to have trouble sleeping. We know you're going to have trouble, like you're going to have those intrusive thoughts and memories and have those feelings pop up, and you're going to be triggered. We know those things are happening. And so now, the state has those mental health response teams. Most of the departments have those teams now too. So it's not just like, hey, here's what's going on and are you okay? It's like, it's normalizing to not be okay in a group of your peers who also know that, hey, I'm experiencing the same thing. And it's not something bad. It's just something that we have to work a little bit harder on. And I'm not alone. Because a lot of times as first responders, and I know you know this too, is we always thought we were the only ones who are experiencing those things. And reality is everybody else that was in that serious incident was experiencing those things too. And so normalizing that and bringing those people together and allowing them to be vulnerable in a safe place with those mental health providers there has made a world of difference. I hate that we didn't have that for your generation coming through because you guys were literally just told to suck it up. And my generation coming up now knows that, that's okay and there's resources. And here's people you can be vulnerable with and you don't have to worry about it coming back to your department or coming back to where you work, that they're going to hold that confidentiality for you. And that has been so freeing for at least my group coming up now to be able to take off that armor and be vulnerable in those situations. And it's also helped with that, going back to that social pillar, because now I have a team that I really, really trust, and we've been through some stuff together, and we know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we've got each other's back even more now than we ever did before.
That's really awesome. And I'm not trying to lay any blame on anybody from the past at all. So I don't want anybody to think that. We just didn't know.
You didn't know?
People didn't know. I mean, the whole field of mental health isn't all that old. It used to be like, oh, somebody's got something wrong with them and we're not really sure what it is, but they're crazy. So we're going to lock them away in this building for the rest of their lives and not have to mess with them. That's what they did. And it wasn't until the early 70s that they really started looking at why neurologically do we respond the way we respond, and why is it that two people can experience the same thing and have a different response. They just really started looking at that in my lifetime. But that social resilience is definitely the reminder that we heal in connection and not in isolation. You know, that connection, it's a protective factor, and that hits hard, because social resilience isn't just about having people around you. It's about having a place where the truth can land, a place where you don't have to hold everything in, and when you finally have that space, something interesting happens, and that's, you start to hear yourself again. You start to reconnect with a part of you that exists beneath the job, beneath the trauma, aside from your armor. It's, you realize there's a person inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the perfect doorway into our final pillar, and that's that spiritual resilience.
For me, like, and I know we've joked about this several times, is like, I'm a Taoist, which is why I'm celebrating the Lunar New Year. So for me, the stories and the mythology and all the great things I get to do each day for the next 11 days is like my true like exploration and true celebration of my spiritual stuff. And with Taoism, though, there isn't really like, there's temples and stuff if you're a true religious Taoist from it, because it's an Eastern religion. But here in America, it's mostly philosophical Taoism, which is more the trait that I lean to. So I don't have that, going back to that social pillar, I don't have that church group where you have, you know, my Christian friends, they have that community and group in that there for their churches and Bible studies and stuff like that. So for me, like having that spiritual why of, for Dallas, everything's about balance and finding that balance in everything I'm doing. So am I balancing out this person who's having a hard day, and that fulfills me and gives me energy? Am I helping somebody, like most first responders, like to be a good person and to help others is a core tenet of most religions. So it's not just going to Bible study, it's showing up for people when they need it. It's, you know, scooping somebody's driveway when they broke their foot and you're just helping them out, or bringing food to somebody who had lost a family member. Being that good person and balancing out those bad things is a core part of most first responders' lives. And really, like in this section alone, it's, you know, we always confuse it with just showing up for church or being that spiritual, but man, just going outside and going for a walk when it's so gorgeous outside can be a spiritual moment, and getting back to nature and grounding yourself. And I don't think we as first responders really do that. We always on the go like the horse. We're always moving. We're always doing something. We don't take our time to just sit back and enjoy the just all that is the universe.
And, you know, the Fire Horse year brings this energy of clarity. Sometimes an uncomfortable clarity, but clarity just the same. And it pushes you to ask, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Does this still align with who I am and who I intend to become in my future? It's not gentle, but it's honest. I think that's where it gives us hope, because spiritual resilience isn't about religion. It's about our belief systems. It's about the orientation. It's about knowing what matters to you and letting that guide you as you as you make your choices, as you make your tactical plan for your future. So when people reconnect with their purpose, they start to feel grounded again. And they start to feel like they're not just reacting to life, but they're actually participating in it. And I think that's why this is so powerful for veterans and first responders, because our identity is often shaped by our service and our sacrifice and our constant exposure to human suffering. And it's easy to lose sight who you are outside of the uniform. Spiritual resilience helps you to reclaim it. It helps you to remember that you're more than just what you've survived. And the fire horse amplifies that message because it says, let go of what's dead and make room for what's present and what's true.
Holding on and dragging stuff and move forward, right? And I think that's getting back to that why. I really love that you said that. It's so many of us start our career like going to change the world, and like I'm 10 years into my career now, and I have to keep reminding myself, like, why am I here? Why am I showing up every day? Who am I showing up for? What is my purpose? What is my goal? And then as you get further on in your career, you can lose sight of those things.
Spiritual resilience isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's about having a compass when the world feels like it's out of control. And in a year as intense as this one, that compass matters more than ever.
Yeah, we're gonna be moving and grooving this year with all this energy. And so the question is going to become, can we harness it? Can we ride this horse? And do we have a plan to do so? Because even like, if you've never ridden a horse before, you can't just climb on one roll. There's a little more to it, right? So this year is the same. Like, we know we're going to be moving fast. We know we're going to be moving and grooving all year long. Do you have the skills? Do you have the coping skills? Do you have the support network around you to deal with this speed and energy?
That's such a great a point. You know, the spiritual resilience is kind of the thread that just ties everything together, and it's the reminder that it isn't about surviving the fire. It's about understanding why you're walking through it in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's where the fire horse gives us hope. Not because it makes life easier, but because it invites us to live intentionally, more honestly, and more aligned with who we are. Face it, we don't always know exactly who we are. Sometimes we look in the mirror and we're like, yeah, I recognize the person looking back at me, but who am I really?
First responders have to wear that mask all the time of being professionals.
So, Sarah, as we step back and look at everything we've covered today, I am struck by how each pillar builds on the next. And we started with that mental resilience of talking about the year of the fire horse and how it pushes us to examine our thoughts and our patterns and the stories we tell ourselves. It reminded us that adaptability and self-regulation aren't about being perfect. It's about learning to steer the fire instead of letting it run wild. And from there, we moved into physical resilience because the mind can't do its job if the body's running on empty. Flat fact, your car's not going to go if you don't put any fuel in it. We talked about sleep and movement, nutrition, and strength, and not as a performance metric, but as a foundation that allows people to carry the weight of their life without collapsing underneath it. Fire horse energy really highlights that need for presence and stamina. And that brought us to the social resilience, which might be the most misunderstood pillar of all, because so many people hear social and they think it's got to be a lot of people, but it's just about making connection. It's about understanding that connection isn't optional, it's essential. It's a space where we hold the things together that we've been holding inside and finally have someplace to go. And in a year that's as intense as this one looks to prepare itself to be, having people who can hold your truth without flinching is everything.
Yeah, so in 2025, we were the year of the snake, which was a lot of turmoil and change. So think about like a snake shedding its skin. And so we experienced a lot of that. And looking back, you can see a lot of that just instability and just in the universe in general. And so now we've gone from instability to going 110 miles an hour forward. And so, and the temptation to just burst through the door is going to be there all year long. And so I really hope that if first responders or anyone listening gets anything from this podcast, is to know you're not alone. There's people, there's a herd of horses around you that will help you, and that it's okay to slow down, to stop by the watering hole, to get a break, and to find a connection with somebody in your herd or around you, even if it's just one person who you can truly, truly be vulnerable with. And if you can't find that person, reach out and we will point you in the direction of somebody who can. Because it's so very, very important for our first responders to take care of themselves so they can show up every day and take care of others.
And then there's that spiritual resilience, the final pillar that we talked about that ties all the others together, the purpose, the values, the meaning, the why behind the what. And that Firehorse year invites people to realign with what matters the most, to let go of the dead, to move towards what's true for them. And that's where hope is. And that's the heart of this entire conversation. This year isn't about chaos, it's about clarity, it's about transformation, and it's about remembering resilience isn't a single trait, it's a system, a living, breathing framework that helps us ride the fire with intention instead of being consumed by it. And that's, I think, why every conversation matters so much for the people that we serve, the veterans, the first responders, corrections, nurses, dispatchers. You know, they deserve tools that honor their humanity and not just their strength.
Absolutely. I don't think I could have said any better. That's awesome.
Sarah, I want to say thank you for bringing this idea forward and for walking through these pillars with me today. Your insight and your heart and your commitment to the people on the front lines make this conversation richer and more meaningful. It has also just given me the opportunity to learn so much more about the philosophy behind who you are, you know, as a person and your beliefs. And that has been very interesting for me.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy the Lunar New Year. You got to wear red. Got my fingers painted red for the Lunar New Year. It's good luck. Eat lots of long noodles for longevity and lots of egg rolls and golden things for, you know, prosperity and money and wealth. Really just enjoy your time, just like we do during Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's a time to get together with your people and your herd and really enjoy looking forward to a new year with a clean slate and some direction.
Thank you. Sarah, this conversation has carried so much weight and so much hope. And walking through the 4 pillars with you, mental, physical, social, and spiritual resilience, has given this Firehorse year a whole new meaning. It's not just a symbol, it's an invitation and a reminder that we can move through intensity with intention, with support, and with a sense of purpose that actually sustains us. And before we shift into our closing thoughts, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Superhuman Resilience Project is possible because of W Energy, Deemed Fit for Duty, and Renewed Perspectives, LLC. Their support allows us to keep creating spaces like this, spaces where veterans, first responders, and high-capacity humans can hear conversation that honors their lived experience and offers real tools for the road ahead. Conversations matter, and it means a lot to have partners who believe in this mission. I thank you, Sarah, because resilience isn't about avoiding injury. It's about having the tools, the support, and the purpose for navigating what life hands you. As always, if you have something you want me to unpack, you can email me at questionsforkara, all spelled out, or you can check us out at www.renewedperspectives.me/podcast. The Superhuman Resilience Project wants to thank you, Sarah, for being here with us today and for bringing this idea forward and for helping us walk through these pillars with honesty and heart. And I really appreciate your friendship, and I love you, sis.
Thank you again for having me.
Soon again, I hope.
Yes.